Good evening, all you ghouls and gals. Welcome to the Booze and Bourbon Halloween Spooktacular. It's almost that time of year. Everybody loves to celebrate their fears. But I'll tell you what scares me the most. The podcast filled with ghouls and ghosts. A little bourbon may be good right now. I think a drink may calm me down. I know everybody's scared of me, but this podcast is terrifying. Ooh. It's the Booze and Bourbon Podcast. Halloween October Spooktacular.
Welcome back to another episode of Booze and Bourbon. I am Kim.
And I am Jean-Pierre. I was trying to get a vampire voice, but I can't do it. I give up.
From the last week, you're still sticking with the vampires?
Well, it's just that month. I'm just trying to get like it's either that or a witch or...
You could do a witch's cackle.
Oh, that was more like a crow.
Or a dolphin.
Bird. Dolphin, yes. Never mind.
I don't know how you're doing this week, but I'm doing pretty good. Things are finally starting to calm down again. I don't feel like I'm doing 15 million things at once. How about you?
Yeah, oh, well, like a little multitasking never hurt. I do that occasionally as well, but not, more of the gym type.
Right.
But yeah, nothing really new.
Well, that's good.
No ass wiping of dogs.
Perfect.
And trying to just work on getting sleep.
Sleep's good.
Sleep is good.
I didn't sleep last night.
No.
I decided that I was going to get up at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
And not go back to sleep.
That's normal. Oh, I do have to share that if anyone, if you just watch the random shit that pops up on Netflix sometimes, this movie popped up, In the Tall Grass.
Okay. Tell me more.
So it's a scary movie, I guess, technically is what it is. But the weirdest shit ever. Like, basically, people go into this, field of tall grass. Mm-hmm. A summary. These people pull over on the side of the road. I think the girl didn't feel good and she had to get sick. And she opens the door and she can hear a little boy yelling, "Help me, I'm lost in here. Somebody come get me."
Just lovely.
Yeah. So they all get lost in the woods. There's other people in there, but most of them are dead and you don't know that at first. And apparently, there's some connection to, some, I don't know, old tribe, and everyone's one with the grass. So you die in the ground and then you come back. So, you can, come back to life or something. Anyway, it was
the land
super
takes
strange.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually seen a whole bunch of spooky movies. We have Crave TV, and there are a lot of good spooky movies on there.
Old and new?
Old and new,
nice.
Yeah. So I've created a watch list so that I can scare myself every single day after I come home from work.
Yeah, just a normal October
Why
thing to
do we do that to ourselves, though?
This is how the podcast started, though, Kim. We love scaring ourselves.
I know.
We just love that stuff.
I felt like...
And then wonder why we can't sleep, but we still love it, so...
Last year when The Haunting of Hill House came out...
Oh, that was so good.
I know, apparently the second season's supposed to be even scarier.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
But you would tell me that you watched it, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, you're in that house by yourself, and you're watching that? Okay. That takes me up to the next level. I have to be able to do the same. And when I would watch it, I would see my reflection in the big screen, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's a ghost.
It's the lady with the tilted neck.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, they purposely tried to freak you out in every scene because they tried to put a ghost in every scene in an inconspicuous place.
Yes.
So even subconsciously, you were probably seeing ghosts, and it was probably scaring the heck out of you. Mm-hmm. So anyway, cheers to the season of paranormal TV and movies.
All the classics.
All the classics. So today's episode is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Not something that Jen and I would typically do, but we did get a lot of people asking for this type of episode. So it is about the Dogman.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Can't say that we've ever, never crossed this before.
No, definitely not. Don't know anything about the Dogman, but we're also covering Hellhounds, and I have heard a thing or two about Hellhounds.
Yes.
All right, so before we go any further, we have a new bourbon to try.
Yes. And
Jen,
I feel like I'm going to struggle with this one.
Jen picked this one. It's going to be a good cork pop. I can feel it.
Oh, that was a good one.
Tight.
That was tight.
Good job.
Like a glove.
Like a glove. So we have Woodford Reserve here. So the mash bill for Woodford Reserve features a high rye percentage. So I'm pretty confident, Jen. You know you like this one.
I know.
So 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. This bourbon is triple distilled and matures for at least 6 years. And we actually tried the Woodford Reserve at Churchill Downs.
Yes.
We weren't there for Kentucky Derby, but we were there a little bit afterwards. And there are literally ads everywhere for this bourbon. And we would sip on Woodford Reserve on ice in between our mint juleps.
Yes.
We weren't ripped at all that day.
Not at all.
All right. So what do you smell in this, Jen?
Other than complete deliciousness,
I know. I smell leather.
I smell honey.
Vanilla.
Yes.
Yeah.
Little spice. Did yours say leather? Smokiness?
Yeah, for sure. It's really good. Okay, let's have a little sip. I'm definitely tasting the leathery too.
And this is why I love this one, because I think it is because of the rye, but
It's so
it's
smooth.
just so smooth, yeah.
So very smooth. I also feel like I taste like coffee almost.
Yeah, I could see how you get that. Almost at the end, it's like a bit of that like coffee, like what you would get in if you made a pot of coffee, like the very bottom almost.
I feel like coffee and cream, like what I love in the morning. I almost am tasting in this. So
Maybe you should just put this in your coffee.
okay. And then how am I going to make it to work? No, officer, there is no bourbon in my coffee.
On your broomstick, bitch, it's October. Just kidding.
Oh, God, you know me so well. All right, so I like the finish on this, too. It sticks around for a while.
Heats up the old bourbon pocket.
Yeah, it's giving me the October feels, because with the rye spice, the rye flavors and the kind of wintry type spices in there, it's giving me some autumn feels. Okay, so, Jen, would you rather?
Yes. Well, I would rather actually
What would you rather?
drink this than water. Okay. Well, based on our topic today, would you rather own a pet werewolf? It could be potentially like one of the hot ones from Twilight.
Oh, as a pet.
Yes.
Okay.
He lives here.
Okay.
Or perhaps a Dogman.
I feel like the Dogman doesn't smell very good.
Yeah.
From what I've read, I don't think he smells great. Where I feel like a werewolf would, you know, they're human most of the times, probably like having showers and stuff. They really only get gross and disgusting
yes.
when they go into werewolf mode. So I'm going to have to go with the werewolf. Pet werewolf.
I would agree, yeah.
Okay. So would you rather go to the pet store and specifically ask for a werewolf, but as the werewolf grows a little bit older, it turns into a ginormous werewolf cat? There's a thing on the internet right now where the cat looks like a werewolf.
Oh, okay.
Or would you rather it be a miniature werewolf running around all the time?
Oh my God, I want the miniature werewolf. And I would give him the cutest outfits.
Yeah, he would be pretty sweet. How do you think Lucius would feel about it?
Well, I feel like Lucius is actually another version of the Hellhound, which we'll also talk about. So I'm sure they would get along fine.
Okay, perfect. Excellent.
And I'm not wiping either of their asses.
Okay.
So.
All right. I was kind of hopeful that you'd go for the little kitty, though. Well, he's not really little, but he's
No,
a
he's not
ginormous
really
cat.
little. Very hairy.
Yeah.
I can't handle
He
it
looks like
anymore.
he has a lot of personality, though.
Well,
I'll have
all
to
right.
I'll have to find you a photo after.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, just after the break, we're going to get into today's topic, which is all about the Dogman and Hellhounds. Stay tuned.
A cool summer morning in early June is when the legend began. At a nameless logging camp in Wexford County where the Manistee River ran.
11 lumberjacks near the Garland Swamp found an animal they thought was a dog. In a playful mood, they chased it around till it ran inside a hollow log. A logger named Johnson grabbed him a stick and poked around inside. Then the thing let out an unearthly scream and came out and stood upright. None of those men ever said very much about whatever happened then. They just packed up their belongings.
All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to get into the Dogman. The first recorded instance of humans encountering the Dogman was back in 1887, where a couple of lumberjacks got more than they bargained for among the trees of Wexford County in Michigan. Not that they didn't survive to tell the tale. Despite its fearsome reputation, accounts of Dogman attacks have yet to be substantiated. God damn it. Accounts of Dogman attacks have yet to be substantiated. Accounts of Dogman attacks have yet to be substantiated. Oh my God! Maybe you should say it. I don't know why I can't say it.
I'm going to fill in for Jen for this one line. Despite its fearsome reputation, accounts of Dogman attacks have yet to be substantiated. That's the word. Yeah. In mainstream media. Take it away, Jen.
Thanks, Kim. Sir Talkslot here is having a problem today. A website dedicated to this legend is called Dogman Encounters. It states the truth is being kept under wraps. The owner of the site says that monster eyewitnesses who possess that kind of evidence don't want it released to the public. Amazing videos, pictures, and vocals of Dogman have all been shared with me, though. Impressive Dogman evidence most definitely does exist. Many people also believe the beast dates back to ancient Egypt, and that Dogman encounters have been reported on every continent except Antarctica. The monstrous myth appeared to disappear into the fabric of folklore until 1987, when a specially composed song, simply titled The Legend, was broadcast on local radio. The composition's atmospheric evoking of hysterical brushes with the Dogman terror led to a steady stream of calls from listeners. The creator of the song was DJ Steve Cook. Cook has explored the idea of the Dogman having deep supernatural connections. Interviewed for a 2012 Huffington Post article, he reveals that he once spoke with an elder from the Ottawa Chippewa tribe in the 1980s who believed Dogmen were members of a shape-shifting skinwalker tribe who became stuck somewhere between their human and animal forms. In 2007, the Dogman made an out-of-focus appearance in a supposed home movie called The Gable Film, which was found in an old estate sale. This was an eerie sequence that would put the Blair Witch to shame. The blurry footage depicts something crawling through the forest, followed by a chase and attack. Unfortunately, this video turned out to be a hoax. We're going to get into some apparent real-life encounter stories we found during our research on the topic.
Okay, I need to say this. That time when I tasted the Woodford, I tasted maraschino cherries.
Oh, what?
I don't know why. I might need more to explore this more. Okay, anyway. So this story comes from central New Brunswick, Canada, which is our neighbor province. My grandfather told me this story when I was a teenager. I'm 52 now. My granddad grew up in the woods of central New Brunswick in a very remote area where only survivalists go now. Their whole family lived out in the sticks. They lived by hunting, fishing, trapping, and some logging. Granddad said when he was a teenager, he and his older brother Duke were up in the early hours checking trap lines and on an old motorbike. It was early fall. Frost was on the grass and early morning mists still hung around the forest edges. He was rolling cigarettes with his brother and they were out of matches. So they dipped a bit of cloth in the gas tank and ignited it over the coil wire while Duke kicked the bike over. The sound of the bike being kicked over without an ignition is sort of like an animal call. That's how my granddad described it. Anyway, just as they started smoking their cigarettes, my grandfather noticed something bounding through the tree line towards them. Granddad said it ran in a way a bear did, but it stopped several yards away from them and stood up on its hind legs. It was still too far away to tell what it was, but they assumed it was a black bear because they are very common in New Brunswick. That's when it began walking upright towards them. As it got nearer, Granddad said it looked like a huge werewolf. His family origin was German, so this was not unknown. It got as close as 20 feet away from them and then began to eye them closely. It sniffed their smokes and then turned and ran back towards the trees. Granddad said they were not scared. He said they were only shocked that such a creature was living in the woods. Granddad said it was taller than any man, had a huge head, evil eyes, long upright ears, hands with long claws, and hair all over its body. I can't remember what color he said its fur was, but he said it had wolf-like legs. And that's his story, and he had many more. From Andy, dated sometime in the 1940s.
Wow. In Leon County, Florida, I'm sharing this story in hopes of someone else having another one. And then I will have this one out in the open. I was traveling Highway 10 from the west coast to the south coast of Florida. I was with my 6 kids and pulling a trailer with all of my belongings and 3 dogs in it. I was in a big SUV and it was around 2 a.m. The kids were all asleep and my 13-year-old daughter was in the passenger seat to make sure I stayed awake. So after traveling Highway 10 for 3 days, I had decided since we reached Florida, we would cut through the state to save some time. So we got off Highway 10 on an off-road in hopes of getting gas and making up some time. It was along Route 27, Apalachicola National Forest. We came to the first little gas station. It was closed. I was nervous because we needed gas, so we continued on. I told my daughter to keep an eye out for deer crossing the 2-lane deserted highway, because hitting deer could kill us and or turn us over or flip us over due to the trailer that we were pulling. We were traveling around 45 miles per hour. I remember this so clearly like it was yesterday, but it was 3 years ago. We had our high beams on because the road was dark and winding. A few houses were on that highway, but not many. As we came around a corner in the headlights on the road, there was a lot of blood, fresh blood, and on the side of the road was this 6 or 7 foot tall creature. It was on its hind legs, hunched over a dead deer, eating it. It did not look up, not even when my headlights hit it. It was using its arms like a human eating the deer. It had a very muscular body, pointed ears, and a long muzzle. If you ever saw a werewolf, this was it. It had a skinnier lower body, but used its arms and hands just like a human. If it looked up, I would have died. I looked over at my daughter, and we were both seeing the same thing at the same time. Tears came to my eyes instantly, and at that same time we both said, werewolf. I sped up because I was scared it would run and jump on the trailer and kill my dogs. As we got about a mile away, my heart was beating so hard. My daughter and I were so freaked out. It was a werewolf. I've never been a believer in werewolves. I don't watch any werewolf movies and have any reason to make this up. As a matter of fact, until today, I have only told a handful of people about this. There is a werewolf in Florida. Not sure of the exact town or road, but I wish I did know so I could find out if we were the only ones having seen this. I will live my life wondering. It was between Alabama to Florida along the Panhandle. I will never forget this night ever. And that's anonymous, dated 2017.
Okay, I just want to make one observation here. So she said it was a werewolf, and not sure if there's any other ones, but if there's one, I'm pretty sure there's more.
Yeah.
Just like what they say about like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's never just one.
Never just one. They have to populate.
Yeah. There's a friend.
This one comes from Kenton, Kentucky. I used to work about 30 miles away from where I live. One night, I had been stuck in heavy traffic coming home. I take Lasix, so after a while, I really had to go to the bathroom. I kept telling myself that I was almost home and tried to hold it until I got there. By the time I got to my exit, I knew I wasn't going to make it to my house. So I pulled up to an area where Fidelity Investments is located and found an area that was isolated. This area is heavily wooded with walking trails and a lot of game, but it is also in a very populated area. I pulled up a little side drive off one of the main roads. That little drive is about 100 feet long with only room for one car. It went up in elevation and had bushes on the right side, facing the main road. On the left side, there was a guardrail and a view of the valley below. The area up there is huge and isolated with several buildings that are all spaced out. The space is dark at night because there are intermittent street lights up there. At night, it's pretty deserted too. A few cars go through that area though, because it's a shortcut people use to go from Taylor Mill over to the 3L highway, where there are stores, restaurants, etc. When you're up there, you're above everything around this area. When I stopped, I got out of my car, waited a moment and looked around to make sure there were no other cars. It was winter, so the bushes between where I was and the road below me didn't have many leaves on them. Because of that, you could see right through them. I was up on this little rise about 20 or 30 feet above the drive, which was 4 lanes wide. To the left of me was a street light and more woods that went down another hill to the main road. I went to the back of my car and did what I had to do. I'm glad you picked out a very meticulous area to do this.
Yeah.
When I finished, I stood up, and all at once, every hair on my body stood up. I knew I wasn't alone. I scanned the area in front of me and must have heard something behind me because I turned around and there were 3 deer standing there, all huddled up together, between my car and the guardrail. They weren't looking at me. They were looking across the road. I looked back over there, and that was when I saw a figure standing between the bushes in front of it and the tree line behind it. It was huge. I stand 5'5". Some of those bushes were about 6 feet tall, but they only came up to about the collarbone area on this thing. Due to the street light to the right of it, about 20 feet away, I was able to get a pretty clean outline of this thing. It had a large dog-shaped head and pointed ears. I couldn't make out its neck, but I could make out massive shoulders. That's when it growled. It was a deep vibration I could feel in my chest. My body just took over at that point. I have to explain this part to you. I worked security for many years in California in the music business, and as a woman, I have to really work out to train to defend myself. I kickboxed for 8 years and worked out every day. I also train dogs, mainly Anatolian Shepherds and German Shepherds. Sometimes I have to establish who is the alpha, and to do that, I get them down, hold them in place, grab them by their ear, and growl until they submit. Then the training can start. So when this thing growled at me, it was just pure instinct. I dropped down to a crouching position and growled right back at it. When I did that, it stopped growling and it started sniffing the air. Its snout went up and it turned its head slightly as it was sniffing. It then took a few steps forward. I was still crouched down on all fours and moved forward, still growling at the thing. When I did that, it stopped. I stood up and kept staring right at it. I never broke eye contact with it. Then it slowly stepped back into the tree line until I couldn't make it out as clearly as before and started to move to the right of me. The deer were still behind me. They were so close I could have reached out and touched them. I waved my arms and told them to get out of there. When I did that, they went back over to the guardrail and took off down the hill. That's when I jumped in my car and got out of there as fast as I could. I felt this thing was trying to circle behind me and I wasn't going to wait around for that. Do I think I scared it? No. But do I think I confused it for a couple of minutes and that gave me some time to move? Yes. I told my husband about what happened up there, but I didn't tell him exactly what I saw. He would think I was nuts, and to be honest, I thought I was a little crazy myself until I saw a picture of a Dogman. I know there are other things in this world that cannot be explained. I've seen them, but this was beyond any of those things. Since this has happened, I can't take that shortcut through that area anymore. My husband took me back over that way once to see the area, and I was begging him to get me out of there the whole time. I thought I was going to throw up. The wildlife up there has almost totally disappeared. I never see anything up on the hills anymore. The street I live on is only about 1 mile or so down from the hill, and lately we've seen coyotes on the streets, like they've been chased out, and pets here have started to go missing. We've also seen a large black figure moving through our backyards down here. The dogs throughout the neighborhood go crazy regularly now, too. People are calling the cops whenever they see that large black figure jumping fences. I'm concerned that it has come down the hill after eating everything up there. Anonymous, dated early December 2013.
So if you gotta go, do not take a side road to drop the kids off.
To elevate yourself 20, 30 feet up in the air?
No. And then you see that, and then you have to drop the kids off again. And yeah. I mean, at least we protected some deer in that
My
situation.
question is, did she cover over her mound?
Did you have toilet paper with you? Is my question. Or a mummy hand.
Yeah.
Like I also have here in front of me.
Exactly. Like built-in tissue or toilet paper.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to move on to hellhounds. A hellhound is a supernatural dog in folklore. A wide variety of ominous or hellish supernatural dogs occur in mythologies around the world. Features that have been attributed to hellhounds include mangled black fur, glowing red eyes, super strength and speed, ghostly or phantom characteristics, and a foul odor. Certain European legends state that if someone stares into a hellhound's eyes 3 times or more, that person will surely die. In cultures that associate the afterlife with fire, hellhounds may have been fire-based abilities. In cultures that associate the afterlife with fire, hellhounds may have fire-based abilities and appearance. They are often assigned to guard the entrances to the world of dead, such as graveyards and burial grounds, or undertake other duties related to the afterlife of the supernatural, such as hunting lost souls or guarding a supernatural treasure. In European legends, seeing a hellhound or hearing it howl may be an omen or even a cause of death. They are said to be the protectors of the supernatural, guarding the secrecy of supernatural creatures or beings from the world.
Actually, Jen, as you might know, we have a decently well-known hellhound story from just around the corner. One man who spent many years searching for treasure on the elusive Oak Island had an encounter one night that would change his life. Dan Henske was taking an opportunity to play around with the full moon. It doesn't come overly often, so this seemed like a good time to get out dowsing rods and to find some keys to unlocking the island's mysteries. Dowsing rods are used to find underground waterways, and it's known that there are many of these on the island. So the two metal rods start to pull away from one another and then pull towards one another when a water source is found. And it's not scientifically proven, but it is a method that's used by drilling companies often. So the idea of using the dowsing rods during the full moon is thought to strengthen the ability of the rods by extra gravitational pull. So Mr. Dan Henske went out late one night during a cold night, I might add, and got a lot more than he bargained for. He saw what he can only describe as hellhounds with glowing red eyes, and they started to chase him. He ran and ran through the woods of the island until he reached the shoreline. At this time, there was no causeway, so the only way he could get off the island was by boat. Didn't have a boat there, so what he did was he stripped down and plunged into the cold, frigid waters to escape them and did not return to the island for years and years after this encounter.
Well, I don't know if I would either.
No, exactly. But he's on the show now, so he's obviously okay and
Getting over it.
moved along. But this brings me to tell you something.
Yes.
So I was with Tony Sampson from the Curse of Oak Island this weekend, and he told me that there are multiple islands in Mahone Bay that apparently have spirits. And I know that I spoke to you briefly about Sacrifice Island.
Yeah.
But he says there's one that has an area called Murder Point, and it's an actual Indian burial ground.
Oh, we definitely need to go there.
And then Ryan's boss, Zach, sent me an email and he's like, hey, have you heard of Covey Island? And Covey Island is a site of where 9 people were scalped. And do you remember Helen Creighton's story?
Kinds, yeah.
She had one that was about a bloody handprint on a rock.
Yeah.
That's Covey Island. And the bloody handprint is still on that rock. We have to go there. We have like a very long list of islands we need to visit.
I mean, but we could probably get those all done in like a weekend.
Yeah. And, you know, now's probably a good time for us to tell our listeners that we have a pretty cool episode that's going to come out probably in November. And we are doing Oak Island with Tony Sampson on the Salty Dog Tour, as well as other people from the show and people from around the area. And we're doing it on Halloween at night.
Absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't we do that? That just makes complete sense.
So once we have the episode all done for you, we are going to give you guys a fantastic Oak Island episode. I'm trying to line it up with the time that the new season comes out so that so all of the people that are into Oak Island can listen to the episode and appreciate that. It'll be like a little hoorah. Anyway, that's my story about Oak Island and Hellhounds.
And other islands that we have to hit up.
Yeah.
All right, we have a story from Reddit. This has been haunting me for years, and I need to know what the hell I saw. When I was 16, I was living with my family in San Antonio, Texas. I'm an avid cosplayer and anime fan, and have lots of cosplay friends in Texas, so 3 of my friends decided to take me to a supposed haunted bridge at almost midnight. My parents knew who I was with, where I was going, and that I'd be sleeping over at their house. So around 11:30 p.m., we left their apartment and headed to the haunted bridge. They parked in a small lot in the area, and we all headed out to the bridge. We searched for about an hour, but decided to quit early in the night because we weren't catching anything. On the way back to the car, we saw someone pulling up the small lot, and so one of our friends decided to hide in the small bundle of trees next to us, while the other 2 of my friends and I walked up to the car. Turned out to be a police officer who wasn't even there when we arrived. This part isn't really important, but I'd like to tell someone about it. The police officer walked up to us and asked, "Have you been arrested before?" My friends and I shook our heads and replied that we hadn't. He told us, "Well, you're about to." He didn't tell us our Miranda rights and didn't ask me for my ethnicity. I'm half Mexican, but my skin tone is white, and I felt a little offended. So he forced me to call my mom as I cried about it. As she was yelling at him on the phone, I saw something in my peripheral vision. The officer handed my phone to me and started filling out paperwork in his police truck. So apparently we were in a park. I was underage, so I was out past curfew and not with my parents. It's the law in Texas. And the police officer was breaking the law and didn't give me a warning first. That's also the law. As he was filling out paperwork and all that junk, his headlights were on the huge rock, and being headlights on a truck, they were completely still. Here's where it gets creepy, and I need some answers. A dog with no eyes walked in front of the rock and laid down with his head up, alert. The odd part was the dog was still. The lights were motionless. He had no eyes, but his shadow was moving like fire. The dog's shadow was moving like fire. How does this work? It's not logical, and I feel like I've seen a hellhound. I did research on this and have come up with absolutely nothing. With the law thing, I got the problem expunged from my record, and I have a weird Prince Charming-like judge who is stuck up. This has been bothering me for years. I'm 21 right now. I felt like I needed to share this because it's been with me for so long, and I remember it like it was last night.
Exactly. So that pretty much concludes the stories for today. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But now we're going to get into our Patreon shoutouts. If you want a shout out on the show and would like to get access to teaser video trailers of our newest episodes or Jen's ex-bartender recipes, unreleased episodes, and more, you can sign up at patreon.com/booze-and-bourbon. So we have 2 tiers. The first one is just $5 a month, which is called the Spirits tier. And the second tier is called the Sasquatches tier. And you get all the benefits of the Spirits tier, but you also get a personalized birthday card from us. And you get to choose a show topic, and you can also be on the show. Our very first patron is
The Ghost Story Guys.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And then we have Stephanie McNew.
Hey!
We also have Rebecca Bolton.
Amazing.
And also the ABV Network.
Thank you so much to all of our Patreon supporters. We cannot thank you guys enough. With your support, we will be consistently making the show better and better. And Jen is getting a new microphone.
Yes, she is.
So thank you guys. That is so fantastic. And if you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Instagram at Booze and Bourbon. That's BOOSAND Bourbon. If you don't know how to spell bourbon, you better look it up. And you can also find us on Facebook. We are Booze and Bourbon, the podcast. We are on Twitter, and then we're on pretty much every podcast app there is, including now Spotify. And we also have the audio versions of our episodes being uploaded on YouTube too. So that's super cool. And if you want to rate and review us on your favorite podcast provider, that is one of the best ways to support us. We love you guys, and our listeners are the best.
Thank y'all.
Stay spooky.
Get yourself a hellhound.
And happy Halloween, October Spooktacular. Can you slow that down for me one more time? Say it again. Say it again, because I want to fuck with this audio right now. So say that word again.
Accounts of Dogman attacks have yet to be substantiated.
Oh my God, I give up. Words are hard sometimes. I get it.
Substantiated.
Substantiated.
Substantiated. Oh my God.
Substantiated.
Booze and Bourbon is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to advertise on the show, please head over to abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.